Hi Gemini, this is your March 2016 horoscope with me, Lada from Astrolada.com, for everyone who has their ascendant, sun or moon in Gemini. And just to make a short announcement before I start, I'm launching a new website with the same name, Astrolada.com, but it will be totally renovated. I think by the 17th of February it will be online, and it's totally new, it's sleek, it's easier to navigate. It has all the old features plus new ones, and you can write to me what you'd like to see more of in this website, whether you'd like maybe free readings or maybe computer generated reports or more articles or videos. I'll take your considerations. Your advice or into consideration. And I'm also, a friend of mine translated Astrolada.com into Spanish. So if you have Spanish friends who are interested to know more about astrology, they can check the website. I'm putting the address for here, the Spanish version of Astrolada. I'm not running that website, but my friend, she's developing it. She's just using the name and some of the material. Anyway, what does March hold for you, Gemini? It's eclipse time. It does not affect you directly. There are two eclipses, one in Libra, one in Pisces. They don't affect you directly, your sign, but they fall in a house, in different houses for you, Gemini. And let's examine how this is going to impact you, because eclipses is time of reversals, it's time of changes of sort, it's time of realizations, very powerful realizations. And the first eclipse, which happens on the 8th of March, but will be active possibly a month or two before that and 6 months after that. So it's a long-lasting influence, almost like probably till September you'll feel the energy, but most intensely around March and even February. Is the eclipse happening in Pisces, which for you is your 10th house of career. And this is a solar eclipse. What this means is that the sun and the moon come exactly on top of each other. This is like male and female energy joined together. And what does happen when male and female come together? They create new life. So solar eclipse is about new beginnings in one's life. And it's happening in your house of career, social status, authority figures. So there can be a big focus around that area for many Gemini. Of course, there's always exclusions. Not for all Geminis this will happen, but to a big extent, you at least feel it, think about it. So social status, new beginnings there. For some of you, it might mean a new career. For some of you, it can mean the preparation for a new career. Sometimes it might even mean realization that you're no longer happy where you are in your career path or in your certain profession, and you might start taking steps toward changing that. Some of you, sometimes I've seen someone even get fired or made redundant when there is a solar eclipse in the 10th house, because in order to have a new beginning, you need to make space for that. And if you have not had the courage to make this new beginning yourself, the solar eclipse can push you in that direction. But if you're naturally more sensitive, more in tune with those energies, you probably already have been thinking about changing something in regards to your career, about changing something in the way you assert your authority and your reputation. And in ancient astrology, it says that when there is a solar eclipse in your 10th house, you can become like a king. And I remember when I had a solar eclipse in my 10th house a few years ago, 5 years ago, I think. This is when I expanded my business. From working alone, I started working with other psychics and astrologers. So that definitely was a new beginning for me. And becoming like a king possibly means like having more authority of some sort. And if you've been preparing for that, now it can be the time when it starts happening, when you start making it happen. If you have not been prepared, there might be some surprises there, but expect something in that direction. There might be some change in your relationships with authority figures. There might be, for example, I've seen people that have solar eclipse in the 10th house. Some authority from their life disappears. Some authority figure like a father or a boss. Sometimes a boss can leave or something, and a new boss can come, a new authority. Or if you're your own boss, you decide to take a new direction for your business in some way. So that's one way it can manifest, the solar eclipse. So new beginnings there. And don't be, people worry a lot eclipses because there is a shift in energy, and they feel every time there is something new happening, people start worrying, they start getting anxious, they start feeling stressed about things because we're all afraid of the unknown, and that's why people feel not so comfortable, more intense around solar and lunar eclipses. But it's actually a bit like the birth pains that happen, and they bring something wonderful later on. And it's more fated events that come to us, like a fated career that you're meant to take on the path. If you lose a job, or if you get a new one, or new goals appear in your life in regards to your career, professional life. In regards to your worldly responsibilities as well, because 10th house rules worldly responsibility. Even if you're not a career person, what are your worldly responsibility? Whether you're a parent or whatever you are, whatever they are, there is a shift happening there, new beginning. Then the other eclipse, which is later in March, is a lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses are a bit weaker. They last for a month before, 2-3 months after the eclipse itself. But again, the peak is March, part of April, you'll feel it as well. And the lunar eclipse is happening in your 5th house of romance. And whenever there is a lunar eclipse, it's the opposite. It's like the sun and the moon. It's a full moon on that day during the lunar eclipse. So something gets illuminated. You get a powerful intuitive insight about your needs in regards to love, in your case, because it happens in your 5th house, romance. And these might be very emotional realizations. What is it that you need? What is it that what are your emotional needs in love and romance? You might be married and you might realize that, that you need more romance from your partner. And you might go and express it, because lunar eclipses are about expressing that energy outwards. It's about manifesting something. It's about completing it, seeing results. So some of you, I remember when my husband had lunar eclipse in his 5th house, this is when he proposed to me, because these feelings of love, which is 5th house, have grown up to a certain extent, like the full moon grows up, and then they have to come out, they have to be expressed. So he proposed to me. That's a very positive manifestation, of a full moon in the 5th house. But sometimes if you're in a relationship, and 5th house does not rule like committed relationships so much as the love between two people, the romantic feelings between two people. 5th house is partners we date before we get married to them. 5th house is someone we live with, but someone we don't have a child with before like such powerful commitment has happened. So, but even if you're married or single, there can be like some kind of awakening realization about your romantic needs, about your romantic partners. I remember when I had a lunar eclipse in my 5th house is when I broke up with someone because I was not receiving enough emotionally. And it's been brewing for years before that, but this is when I got the trigger, because the eclipses helps trigger us, see things in a more potent emotional light. And emotions are what push us towards taking some action. So you might confront a partner, for example, or a dating partner, or romantic partner, about your emotional needs. And I don't know whether it backfires, so it takes you to the next level. It very much depends on the personal horoscope. It depends on the type of relationship you're on. But now is the time to express those needs. And you're going to have powerful intuitive realization about 5th house matters. 5th house rules also creative expression. So, what does it mean? Some kind of a completion of a creative project, maybe something that you've been working on for a while. You might start seeing it coming together now. Start seeing it see the results of this creative project. Creative project is everyone who uses their intelligence, their unique intelligence. So everyone who has their own business, this is 5th house, because the business is like having your own child. 5th house rules children as well. 5th house is work of love, because work of passion. The 5th house is what we're passionate about, what we truly love with our heart, just like our romantic partners. And if you have your own business, usually this is something, it's a passion of yours that you turned into business. And somewhere where you have to express your creative potential, so to speak. You're the king there, you're the leader, you manifest your ideas there. And there is some kind of a fruition, some kind of a realization as well, maybe what has to be done, or some kind of seeing results in that respect. It can be a fruitful period creatively as well, and especially emotional, very emotionally charged period for creative projects. If you are, say, in arts, in drama, in performers, artistic, music, writing, center stage activity, speaking, when there is an eclipse, lunar eclipse in your 5th house, you can come more into those, you can become more aware of what has to be done, how to do it better in respect to such careers, in respect to such hobbies, activities. Something that comes into fruition again, into fulfillment and awareness, realizations that you have about such kind of 5th house, personal business, creative opportunities, romantic experiences as well. And it might be very emotional, you know, if it's not the right direction you've been going, or if you've been holding back from expressing things, they can come out like that, in extreme cases through some crisis situation. And 5th house rules also one's children. So there might be some kind of a fruition or completion into the life of a child of yours. For example, it might be like a child graduating, or a child taking some tests or exams, or a child coming into, you know, becoming a, you know, starting to come into some kind of a completion of sorts, you know, of completing something in their life, or you have to put more attention there, or maybe a project, or that you've been working and helping with your child on something that they're doing. You might start seeing results then, or you might have realizations about your emotional needs in regards to your relationship with a child of yours or romantic partner. Or it can be a person who's been trying to get pregnant, for example, and there is a full moon in your 5th house, which is also a lunar eclipse. This can indicate that in 2016, over the next few months, you might get pregnant, for example, fruition, you know, or a childbirth or something like that. So that's generally how the 2 eclipses will impact you, Gemini. But there is a lot of planets triggering your angular houses. I think like all the planets, Sun, Moon, Venus, Saturn, Mars, and Jupiter, they're on angles. If this is you, is Gemini here sitting, then the planets will be situated in your 7th house, in your 10th house, and in your 4th house. These are the angles. The 10th house is career. We already talked. A big focus in March on career, on communications with authority people standing above you in some way, or business projects of some sort, career direction overall. You can be very productive in regards to career in March, you know, focus your energies there. Then the other planets, Saturn and Mars, are in your 7th house of relationships. Another key theme, this is committed relationship, whether business partnerships or marriage, or committed one-to-one relationships, and there is a big impact there as well. And 4th house, where Jupiter is, which is your family life, property, home, personal life. So all those key themes are getting triggered for you, Gemini, which means a very happening month is March. And there, because they're in stressful aspects to each other, when planets are like situated on angles, this is the angular house, the houses of action. So when do we act? When we get pressured into something. Usually, in order for us to act, there is like a buildup of energy. There might be even stressful energies, because very often, very few people get inspired to act out from within. Something has to push them, to corner them, to stress them in order for them to start making new changes, new beginnings of sorts. And for you, this month, March, is very happening. June will also be very happening. But remember, March, June, and September later on will be extremely important for you. But for now, let's stick to March, because all those angular houses of personal life, home and property, so there might be changes there also in your home and property, living environment, family members. There might be even a bit of a stress between the demands of your career and your worldly responsibilities and the demands of your family, opposition between Jupiter and all those planets in your 10th house. You have to balance it in some way. You have to adjust, make some changes, new beginnings in family life and career life. And then there is the 3rd stressful angle, the relationships. That might be career and family life demands can be putting pressures on your partnerships, business or personal partnerships can be putting pressure on your career and your social, in your personal life as well, and on yourself. But these are, the stressful aspects. They can create some kind of little crisis, but this is a crisis of action. This is a crisis that makes you take new beginnings, makes you make changes, because the angular houses are the houses of changes. The angular houses correspond to the angular months. Basically the months, the first month of a new season. That's when everything changes. That's when, the climate starts shifting in a big way. That's, the new month, a new season starts. So it's kind of like a period of new season almost in your life now. And again in June, it will repeat very powerfully for you. It will be a grand square, actually. Phew, that will be a huge month. But already in March, action, innovations, new beginnings, triggered by some kind of stresses, but at the same time can be very productive, because the angular aspects between planets, they are ones of manifestation, when the angular houses, of making things happen on the material, tangible level. And the beginning of March might be a bit more tense, because of the opposition of Saturn and with planets in Pisces. And sorry, I don't want to go too much into the astrological part, but there can be provocations from others, because Mars is also entering your 7th house and will stay there till May. March, April, May, till June, 3 months. And Mars will become retrograde in your 7th house, but I'll talk more in depth about that in next month's video. In April, I'll explain to you what to expect from this retrograde Mars in your sign of relationships. There will be provocations from others, but also the ability to make a breakthrough, to have a change in your relationships in a big way. But it's already starting. You're starting to see what those themes will be from March already. Those themes that that will transform your relationships in some way. So that's overall what I see for you, Gemini. We talked about the eclipses. We talked where most of the planets are. It's a very important month for you. I want you to write and share what changes are happening in your life, because they can come from so many levels now. And they can be very productive. Some of you can just thrive on that energy. Others might feel a bit more stressed, because new beginnings are always a bit more provocations for action. It can be the testing part of it, while the positive part is the manifestation of your actions. So thank you, Gemini, and I will see you next month.